Om Jnanativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. So a lot of the times here, it seems like there's there's feedback here. Is there any? There's buzzing. But how do we get rid of the buzzing? Change the mixer board. So you're saying our mixer board old? It's old. Oh, there's no other way to fix it. Just get a new one. All right. All right. Well, I'll try not to pay attention to that buzzing then. That's right. So a lot of the times, here at the Krishna Lounge, we talk about happiness. So today, we're going to talk about suffering. And anyways, not just that. There'll be other things, and we hope there's a positive result, right? So one of Lord Buddha's, you could say, what it was, Four Noble Truths, right? One of them is that this realm that we're all happen to be in right now is a realm where there is suffering, or full of suffering. And then he explains that why is there this suffering? Because of desire. We have so many desires, and most of those desires will produce suffering. This is what he's explaining. So then, okay, how do we get the cause of suffering is desire? Then you could say, then it's explained, then okay, then that means we need to get rid of the desiring, get rid of the desires, which will get rid of the suffering, right? That's the third one. And the fourth one is, okay, there's then how are you supposed to do all that? There's a path, right? The Eightfold Path, which living this way, not doing this, doing so many things, right? Right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditative absorption, or samadhi. That's how we get free of the suffering. That's what Lord Buddha is explaining. So now we're not going to get into all that so much. But one thing is suffering does exist. I mean, it's there. We cannot. It's very strange to try to act like it's not there. It is there. It's there within us sometimes. It's in the world. So to act like it doesn't exist is strange. So then the question is, okay, well, how are we supposed to deal with it? Right? It's there. How are we supposed to deal with it? There's a problem. How we deal with the problem. So anyway, so we'll get back to that in a few minutes. But one of the sufferings in this world is old age. People just don't like it. And symptoms of old age, right? Gray hair, some wrinkles, some whatever, this and that. These are some of the symptoms of old age. And people, they just don't know how to deal with it. Of course, some people don't care. What, gray hair, so what? But sometimes they do care. I mean, you have, right, very attractive brown hair or blonde hair or whatever, and then all of a sudden just starts going gray, and you're like, oh God, this is like really ugly. Looking in the mirror, and that's why the hair dye business is very, I don't know what, million, probably $1 billion industry, right? People don't want gray hair. So, and it's interesting because when people start getting older, when their bodies start getting older, they may start feeling depressed. Like, oh, what's my value? Just like recently, somewhat recently, maybe some of you heard, but of course, there's a lot of news out there. We're like in an ocean. Like this is like modern day times. It's like an ocean of news. Just like unlimited, every day, and news from different countries, and just constant. And by the way, I don't follow the news. Some people would think that's very uncultured and etc. But what can I say? I don't follow. I've never have. I don't have attraction. But people, they tell me sometimes, the highlights. My friends who do follow. And somewhat recently, there was a case in which a young woman, she actually happened to be Miss America. Means she, right, out of so many women, they entered a contest, and out of all of those women who entered the contest, only a certain few were picked. And then out of those few who were picked, out of all of those, one person got the title Miss America, which the judges gave her as being the most beautiful woman, I guess, in this contest. So anyways, she was Miss America, and I mean, that's a very, you could say, gratifying position to hold. Oh, Miss America. I mean, for those who are interested in such stuff, some people don't care so what, Miss America, but for people who actually care about that, that's a super gratifying position. Oh, I'm Miss America, right? It's like a football player. Some people don't care about football, like who cares? But for somebody to actually, who cares about football, to be put in such, I don't even know, to be on the winning team, right? And to have the winning touchdown. I mean, it's a very gratifying position to be in. So she was in a very prestigious position in America. But of course, time goes by, and there's other Miss Americas around the corner. I don't know. I don't know if they do it every year, whatever. I'm not sure how often they do that. But so, and she felt she was Miss America in 2015 or something like that. 2018, something. So then some time passed, and she started feeling herself, to get a little older. Now, of course, she really wasn't that old. She was 31 or something like that. But she started perceiving herself as being old. And not only did she perceive herself as starting to be old, but the media started to perceive her to be old, which means practically they weren't giving her any attention. Okay, she was Miss America, and she was walking by everybody taking pictures, etc., etc., etc. But then a few years passed, and no one was paying attention. Not much attention, especially from media. Why? Because there's other girls who are going to be Miss America. So then she was living in New York City, Manhattan, and of course in Manhattan practically everybody has to live in high rises, right, skyscraper buildings. So she was living there, and somehow or other she was just thinking in her mind, okay, let me finish my life, let me jump. And that's exactly what she did. She jumped, and she didn't live. She committed suicide. It was all in the news. Miss America commits suicide, which somebody told me. So, and then it came out what she wrote before she did this. And a lot of the times this happens, right? People write something, some note or whatever. So she wrote that, yeah, I was Miss America and I perceived that I was getting old, and she said sometimes when I would talk with people and I would tell them that I'm in my early 30s, she said sometimes I would cringe, because it's very unpleasant. So I just decided, okay, better to do something end my life. So that's what she did. So, so, so this is what sometimes people experience. This is real. It happens. It's not like in a movie or something. It happens. So the good news is that we don't have to be like that. That's the good news. Means that our happiness doesn't have to depend on our body or or our mind, right? Means our happiness could come from a spiritual source. It could come from our connection with Krishna. It is spiritual by nature. There's no material things that get in the way of it. So this is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, that it gives us a vision by which we don't have to suffer, by which we don't have to be depressed about material things. So if this particular woman, for example, Miss America before, if she would just have this knowledge that, hey, okay, my body's getting old, I'm getting some gray hairs, whatever, but so what? That's what the body does. So what? And aside from that, I'm not the body. That's what Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, that we're not the physical body. We're the soul, spirit soul, eternal spirit soul. Which the spirit soul, there is no old age, etc. There's none of that. So the problem comes when people, they start identifying with the body. Because, anyways, from this example we see problems come. So if anybody's in their 30s, don't worry about it. So, or 40s or 50s or whatever, don't worry about it, right? I'm now in my 30s. I'll be 34 soon. Not that it is of any universal importance, but I'll be 34. September 16th, for those who want to remember. You could give me a hard time on my birthday, September 16th. Actually, we had one monk here, and it was my 25th birthday or something, and he came up to me. He was kind of a passionate guy, actually, but he came up to me and he just started hitting my arm, 25 times. So I've never had a monk do that before. Before that, and I've never had a monk do that after, hit me in my arm. It was kind of hard too, 25 times. So if anybody, my 34th birthday, if they want to come up to me and hit me in my arm or something. Well, this monk and myself, this was, 10 years ago or something, but we also used to kind of, I don't know why, but we used to wrestle sometimes. Steve, remember? Big Steve, he was a really big guy too. I wouldn't do that now, because I'm in my 30s. I'll hurt my knee or what. No, I'm just joking. But I lost my desire for that. But so, but our happiness shouldn't depend on our age or anything like that. Yeah. So now in terms of of Lord Buddha in saying that suffering comes from desiring. Now the thing is, it is very difficult. It's impossible to get rid of desire. But we could transform our desire. Just like here, everybody's sitting here tonight. They had a desire to be here tonight, or else you wouldn't have showed up. Right? You have to hop in your car, jump on your bike, or whatever, walk here, which is based on desire. And then at one point, later on, hopefully not during the talk, you'll desire to leave, right? You'll desire to leave and to go home or wherever. And then on and on and on and on and on and on and on like that. Desires. We're just full of them. We're like, our consciousness is jam-packed with desires. So it's practically impossible to get free from them. So the idea is to do what? To transform them into spiritual desires, or desires that are actually beneficial for us. Just like an alcoholic, they have a desire, an unsatiable desire to run to the local bar and to order as much alcohol as possible and get completely wasted, right? They have a desire for that. But that desire is causing them harm, is causing them suffering. So the idea is that they just need to transform that desire, and then they won't suffer anymore. So that's what Lord Buddha is talking about. He's saying that, okay, suffering's caused from desire. True. But there's certain desires that actually don't cause suffering. Like drinking orange juice instead of 10 beers, or some people they drink, I don't know, 24 pack, whatever, 48 pack. They could get really skilled at drinking beer. But if you drink, a 24 ounce of orange juice or something, it's healthy, right? So transforming the desires and whatever. I'm not trying to, laugh at the alcoholics out there. It's a very difficult state to be in, and my heart goes out to all of them, and I hope they overcome that. But yeah, there's a way to transform desires, and at least around here, because we happen to be sitting in a Krishna lounge, one of the main ways, or you could say the main way, to transform desires is to chant Hare Krishna, like we were just chanting. And that chanting of Hare Krishna, that whatever desires we have that may cause us suffering, or that do cause us suffering, by chanting Hare Krishna, those desires will be transformed into desires which will not cause us suffering at all, but will actually cause us great happiness, will actually be the source of great happiness. And someone would say, well, so what, you guys are always around here happy, talking about happiness, right? And what are you guys, some happy addicts or something? But we're not talking about cheap happiness, which is available, by the way. I mean, it's very easy, especially nowadays, to get cheap happiness. I mean, there's not like anybody could get cheap happiness. It's completely available, more so than it's ever been ever practically in history. Cheap happiness, especially in America. So we're not talking about that, but we're talking about real deep, profound happiness. But it's not that we're just, in terms of being happy addicts, happiness addicts. When it really comes down to it, at the end of the day, whether we're looking at science, whether we're looking at philosophy, whether we're looking at religion, whether we're looking at different paths of life, one test is it has to make sense. It has to be philosophically and logically, it has to make sense philosophically, logically. That's one. Two is that it has to provide some profound, real happiness. It may make a lot of sense philosophically, or logically. But if it doesn't provide that happiness, we don't want anything to do with it. Most people don't want it. I mean, I don't know anyone practically who's going to subscribe to a philosophy that makes a lot of sense that they just really miserable practicing. So if for the seekers out there, for us of who are seekers of the truth, we could try to use this as a good test. One, it makes sense philosophically, logically. Two, it provides real happiness. Okay, so I'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
You gotta be careful with the orange juice. It can be bad for your enamel.
Oh, really?
You might jump out of the building with enamel. Careful.
Well, the orange juice, sometimes you have a problem with teeth, right? Like too sour, something like limes or lemons, or sometimes, all this stuff happens with the teeth. Our teacher said he said, you know what the difference between our mind and intelligence is? He said, the difference between the mind and the intelligence is this. He said, the mind says, jump off the building, and the intelligence says, no. That's the difference. So the key is that we want to keep our intelligence in a very strong, sound condition, or else, we cause ourselves a lot of suffering. Yes, Mister. Very nice to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah, an image that I've seen recently, I think it was in the Gita, is like an ocean and then Krishna, and then you're out here, and it's like separating you from Krishna is the ocean of desire or something like that. Maybe you got to swim through the ocean or whatever. I don't know, but I just wanted to. That picture is just what kept playing in my head during your speech here. Is the ocean of desire is separating us from Krishna.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it's true. There's an ocean of desires. Yes.
I mentioned desire and reorientation. I mean aspiration, higher desire, reorienting desire, aspiration. See, that has and devotion. See, that's what you should do, and that's what Krishna's talking about. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions? Please feel free to express your minds. Yes.
So I have a question. I found that choosing to transform your desire almost takes a desire to cultivate
Yes.
a healthy, happy, loving space for yourself. And I also have found that other people's suffering, it feels like I can feel it sometimes, within myself. So how would you recommend helping others find the desire to cultivate a loving space for themselves?
All right, thank you. Helping others is very difficult. It's a desire. It's a good one. It's a good one. But no, it doesn't have to be difficult. But a lot of the times it is, because a lot of the times people, they think they have it. They don't want to be helped, really. They don't see the need for them to be helped. They don't want it, so it's difficult. But again, there are some people who feel that they need some assistance, some encouragement, some help, and that's actually a good state of mind to be in. In other words, to try to be in a state of mind that we always feel we need to learn something, right? We could learn from others, we could get help from others, we get encouragement from others. I personally try to follow that. I try to open my ears and listen to people who I'm communicating with and try to see how they could encourage me, because I need encouragement. and see how they could help me in my life because I need help. I'm not perfect, if you haven't noticed. I'm sure you have. I'm still. So then the question is, okay, well, how do we help people? Well, one thing is to consider that the most important thing we could do really is to be strong ourselves. They have a saying. It's what they call like compassion fatigue. It's like some people, they're like really trying to help people, and they just like their mind just snaps. Like, all right, that's it. I'm not helping anybody. I'm done. But we have to have this unconditional unconditional mood of helping others, which really comes from being strong, like a good mother. A good mother, unconditionally, I'm using mother for a specific reason. If people are wondering why I'm not using father, but we won't get into that. But a good mother unconditionally loves a child no matter what, and is always trying to help no matter what. Like I have a friend who's really he's a good guy, but got into a lot of trouble, in and out of jail and just drugs and all, just really wild person. But his mother was just constantly trying to help him, like to the degree where people are like, "Are you really going to help him again? This is enough." And she'd always provide him like credit cards and stuff for his, personal maintenance, and but after years of this mother helping him, he really changed actually, and he's a way better person than he ever was before. And he got out of a lot of the trouble he was in. And I take that as part of his mother's, which everybody else practically gave up on him besides his mother, because she had that unconditional love for him. So if we want to help others, we have to be strong and have that unconditional mood where we help people no matter what. Just like quicksand, you may be trying to help someone out of quicksand, but if we're not strong enough, they pull us in there. So if we're trying to help people, especially in a spiritual way, or in a way trying to, you could say, encourage them in their spiritual life, we have to be spiritually strong. And that boils down to us learning spiritual knowledge, but then trying to act on it. Like having a spiritual practice, a daily spiritual practice. So, anyways, I hope that kind of helps.
Can I pitch in a little bit?
Of course.
Yeah. The last portion of your question, can you say it one more time? Like, how could they help people find that space where they're
Find the desire to cultivate love and healing for themselves. Like if they don't have that desire, then it's hard for them to transform their desires into something good for themselves.
I see.
Because it takes a desire.
Excellent. Beautiful, thank you. I appreciate what you said just prior to that about you being able to feel for other people's suffering, and that's actually known and like as far as our Bhakti yoga philosophy of yoga is that for those who are actually spiritually advanced, they actually really feel that way. It's the Sanskrit phrase is paradukha dukhi, where another person's suffering is their own suffering. And so like when these great saints, these great yogis, these great devotees, they would really feel such an inclination to serve the world because they felt like they can feel the suffering of the entire world. And so so the fact that you feel that is beautiful. The second portion of your question, or your original question, is just how could they cultivate a desire? Perhaps just through association with people who have that desire. First, I thought you said something about how could they cultivate love, like self-love, or come to a space where they can find that love. And I was going to say, perhaps starting with self-compassion, because I feel like sometimes we're too hard on ourselves and we get into this self-sabotaging mindset. But your question was something different, and I would just say association. I wanted to pitch in a comment on just so that was my comment on that. Yeah. Just as far as your lesson, Balaram Prabhu, I appreciate what you were trying to share with us tonight. I thought it's quite a great example for sure. Really sobering, but I think it's also relatable to everybody because I think in essence what you were sharing was how to transcend insecurity, how to go beyond insecurity. Here we have perhaps one of the most beautiful people on the planet feel insecure due to an external circumstance.
Yeah.
And that insecurity consumed her to the point where she felt like she couldn't exist anymore. And I feel like as people of this world, we can all relate on that level. You know, we were born with these bodies. And it's interesting how you say that because you have people who have it all externally, whether they be millionaires, you know, or they have all the external skills or external attraction, beauty, but they still feel a lack of fulfillment or they have their insecurities. And it's like, we can't change those things sometimes. We're born with that's our karma. But you're giving us the solution that the only solution for that is to just reject seeking satisfaction externally. To really realize that you're the soul divine, you're the supreme spiritual essence within, and you're so beyond this body. And so, anyways, just a couple of food for thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, I was just trying to addition to the same question actually. I was just trying to know that how do you identify that it is okay to ask for a help? You know, like there comes a stage where you are not very sure that you should be asking for a help or you can help yourself. You know, that kind of a situation. So how do you identify that
Well,
this is the situation where you need actually someone's help?
well, I would always err on the side of asking. Like some people are embarrassed to ask. But myself, I just ask. I'm like to the point of like, what do you call, shamelessly asking, you know. I'll call people like, 20 times. Like I'm trying to write, I'm writing right now. And, okay, I'm writing right now. I'm in a writing project. Let me just finish, please. I'm writing, I said that 3 times. Okay, I think you get the point. And it's intense. I mean, you really have to. I'm writing in such a way where other people read it. By the way, it's a book, right? But you have to like really meditate on every single word practically, and how it fits in the sentence, and it's a lot. It's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And hours and hours and hours and hours I've put into it. So, but I'm shamelessly calling people, like our Bhakti Tyler here. He's not here, but he's in the temple. I'm calling him up. Hey, how does a sentence sound to you? We're going over it. I call him up 10 minutes later. How does a sentence sound to you? So, not all day, but a lot. To the point a lot of people would be like a little annoyed, right? And by the way, this is after I already sent it to an editor and they already did a lot of work and so on. So to err on the side of asking is not a problem, especially if it's serious. I mean, if we're like struggling, if we're like really unhappy or depressed, I mean, there's so many options out there. Spiritual options, I would say, is the best, but there's so many options out there. And just to ask, like people are saying, oh, I'm depressed, I'm suffering, I don't want to go to the temple and ask about it. Well, go to the temple and ask about it. Or I have some issue, some problem in my life. I'm embarrassed to ask about it. No, please ask. Like me, I'm just insignificant person, but part of my service is I'm here if anybody has anything to discuss with me. And they could ask. Or else, I mean, that's what I live for. That's one of the things I live for. I live to be asked. Not exactly, you could say, you have to coin it help, but to discuss things, to kind of, figure things out. So I would err on the side of asking.
All right, for sure. Yeah. All right, my dude. We gotta wrap things up. So, okay. So, is that it?
Um,
Okay.
well, what time is it? It's 8:35. Now, is there any dinner ready? Is the dinner ready?
Yeah, I think it's
Because that's important, right?
it's getting ready.
Okay, so the dinner is ready, and therefore we could end now, and then everybody could have dinner. And I think he has some announcements. So,
Okay, anyways.
so thank you very much.
Yeah. Nice round of applause for Balarama. Okay, so just a few announcements before we end. We do host a lot of events, yoga retreats, workshops, bonfires, all such things. So if you want to be informed about those things, go ahead and follow our Instagram at Krishna Lounge PB. It's a totally free event, but if you want to make any contribution, there's a donation outside. If you want to help serve out, there's some people outside that you can get in touch with. So thank you all for coming tonight. Hare Krishna.
Oh yeah, I was gonna tell. I was gonna tell you.
Sorry.
Sunday, this Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This Sunday in Balboa Park, starting at 10 a.m. There's a parade, which the monks and other people of this community will participate in, and you're all welcome to participate. It starts at I think it's the only fig tree in Balboa Park, but it's huge. So it starts there. So we're walking. It's a short parade, like 30 minutes, something like that. But then they're celebrating Earth Day in Balboa Park. So we'll be there all day, and we'll have a kirtan booth. We'll be chanting all day. And there'll be a book booth. I'll also be passing out books. And also we'll have a food truck there. So you could, I don't think you could help exactly because I already have all the help, but you could if you want to go to the food truck. But we'll also have a booth where we're serving out lunch all day long. So if you wanted to help with that too. And if you wanted to know anything more about that, you could contact, who can they contact? You contact Anand here. He could raise his hand. He's helping to organize. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you guys.